Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Joy and Sock Talks with Joy and Sean.
Take two. Thanks, Brian, for
No, we
joining
don't
us
do
today.
take two. I'll tell you a story. Never mind. I'll do that later. So, anyways, we have a special guest here with us today, Brian Perez. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you.
Have you here. He has no idea what we're going to talk about. So
No, we're going in blind.
We're going to say, right? So,
I'm excited to be here.
Good.
Anyways,
Glad you're
Brian, we love your energy. We love your comments on Facebook. We love watching you, even your little puppy. We love watching this little guy come into your life, But you've been with Send Out Cards for a while. We'd love to hear your story and what possessed you to be where you are today.
Yeah, so I got involved in Send Out Cards in November of 2014, and I was introduced to it by my buddy Gary. And I had been living in Charlotte for about a year, and I was looking for ways to grow my network. Gary and I had been involved in other projects before. None of them ever worked out. And in fact, at the time, we were involved in another network marketing company that was just going south. And one day, Gary calls me. He's like, Brian, he's like, I think I'm calling it quits. I'm done. And I was like, okay, so what are you going to do? And he's like, you know what? I met a guy by the name of Jordan Adler at the Mirage Hotel last week, and I think I'm going to get into Send Out Cards. I'm like, Send Out Cards? You're going to be sending cards? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, you should try it too, since you want to build your network out there in the Charlotte area. But little did Gary know that in 2010, I was introduced when I left the mortgage industry after being in it for 9 years. My CPA at the time recommended that I get into network marketing. And I thought she was trying to recruit me, but she wasn't. And at that time, because she made the recommendation and she had a lot of influence, she still does, I went ahead and started researching the industry. And somebody recommended Beach Money, and I read Beach Money. And the three things that really stood out to me in Jordan's book is, number one, he owns his life. Number two, he rarely misses his people's birthdays. And number three, he rarely misses funerals. And after going through the 2008 crash and pretty much losing everything physically, that is, material, it really put things into perspective. And it makes you realize that, hey, you know what, maybe I should start making the little decisions with my head and start making the big ones with my heart. And so that book really made a lot of sense. But Gary didn't know that I had read that book. And Jordan, I've been following Jordan for years, but I never met Jordan. So when he approached me to Send Out Cards, I was like, wait, how much does it cost to get into it? And at the time, it was a little bit more than it is now. And I'm like, so you mean to tell me if I give you this much money right now on my credit card that you'll introduce me to Jordan Adler? He's like, yeah, I can do that. And I'm like, you know what? Here you go. I'm in. And he's like, wait a minute. I'm not even in yet. and that's really the way it happened. So I got in because I was looking for a mentor that can teach me this industry of network marketing. And then I saw the value in the product on how I can build my network.
Oh, that's cool.
So, Brian, let me ask you this. You talk about, from here to here and really understanding what's important. Do you think more people are looking that way, what we've gone through the last 6 months?
I think so, Sean. I think people, I'll give you an example. My neighbor, we just recently moved into a new neighborhood in June of June 15th of this year. And I was talking to my neighbor, and it's funny because I sent them all cards before I came here. So when we moved here, they were like, hey, I got your card. And the cards created those conversations, and now I know all my neighbors, right? But like one of my neighbors was telling me, she's like, you know what? I've been living here for almost 20 years, and I've never gotten the time to be able to enjoy my home. She's like, now I sit in the backyard, I reflect, I listen to the birds, I watch the deer go by. And I think a lot of people, this moment has really put things in perspective of what the things that really matter in life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
And I hope it can, I don't hope what we're going through continues, but I hope the 6 months has kind of made everybody slow down. Like you just said, I never enjoyed my house, and now I am, and it is important. So I just hope it continues after we get back to, whatever normal it's going to be, looks like, hopefully soon. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it will. I believe it will.
I love that strong nugget that you just pulled out there too for anybody moving into a new area and touching your neighbors first, you know,
Right.
and you know, I mean, that same concept could be used in any kind of business. You're going to meet on a business, send something ahead of time before you even get there.
Yeah, you know, God, we just have such a cool product. Like last week, so like South Carolina and North Carolina, the laws are just so much different, even though we're right next to each other. So for a while there, and most of North Carolina, you can't really dine in. It's all takeout. South Carolina, you can dine in. So whenever I go anywhere to go eat, I usually go to South Carolina. And even though North Carolina is a 5-minute drive over the lake,
Yeah.
over the bridge. And so last week I was like, you know what? I need to go to my favorite Greek place. And I took I took my dog with me, and we sat there, we chilled. The guy comes by, he's like, is that a Vizsla? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, what do you know about a Vizsla? Because they're rare dogs. And he's like, my wife and I own a pet sitting business in Charlotte. I'm like, really? And we just start chatting, and he tells me he wants to get into real estate. I'm like, great. I'm like, where are you going to hang your license up at? So long story short, as soon as, and he told me where he lived, which neighborhood he lived in, and I'm in real estate, so I know the neighborhoods. And I sent them a card. I sent them a card with a picture of my meal, with a picture of Apollo and I on the back of the card, and just saying, nice to meet you, Blair. We should get together and talk more. Well, guess what? 2 days ago, I get a text from him saying, Brian, thank you so much for the card. We should definitely have lunch soon. We're having lunch next Tuesday. So if it wasn't for this system, that conversation would have never been created, and that appointment would have never been set.
Right.
Yep.
That's the power we have.
It would have been probably left like most of it. Hey, we should get together soon. As you're sitting there, walking, and then you're right, gone. Nothing comes of it. So
yeah, and when we meet, I'm not going to meet to try and pitch him and send out cards. I'm going to meet to find out how I can help him, because he wants to get into real estate and just build that friendship. And I know eventually he's going to ask me, hey, by the way, how did you send that card?
Right. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can show you real quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yep.
Who do you want to send to? Who do you want to have the same feeling you just had, when you got that card, right? Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you're in real estate as well, Brian, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how do you use the system in your real estate business?
So Joy, the funny thing about it is I was not in real estate when I got into send out cards. Okay. Even though my background is in mortgages for 9 years, I never wanted to get back into the mortgage business because I got to the point in 2010 where I just could not digest another loan. And all the realtors that I saw that I used to work with, because my job was to go after realtors, I did not like the lifestyle that they were living, because they did not, mostly every realtor that I know, their business runs them. They don't run their business unless they have a team and they have people working for them and they've created some sort of leverage in their business, right?
Right.
So that I didn't want to build a team, and that the other part did not appeal to me. But a year into being in Send Out Cards, I was at a relationship marketing event in Marietta, Georgia, and I met Gail Zintek. And I'm like, hey, share your story with me. And she's like, my business is all 100% referral. And I'm like, how do you get it 100% referral? And she's like, every day I send at least 5 cards of appreciation. She said, Brian, nobody will ever throw a picture of themselves, their kids, their dogs, their homes, or their cars away. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis and the little kid, when he said, I see dead people. Well, that moment I saw dead people. Because in 1998, I was that guy who read Joe Girard's book, who was in the Guinness World Book of Records for selling the most cars. When I started selling Infinities in 1998, and then Lexus and Mercedes, I was like, you know what? I need to find a better way than standing out on the lot taking ups. And I would literally handwrite cards. So the whole card thing made sense to me. But when she said that, you guys, I don't ever remember one time where anyone has ever put my handwritten card on the refrigerator.
True.
And every time I go to people's homes that I know, my cards are all over their home.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm going to go out and get my real estate license, and I'm going to build my real estate business using this system. So I created a Facebook group. I don't know if you guys are part of it. I created a Facebook group called Creating a Referral-Based Real Estate Business, beginning with the end in mind. Somebody can literally go into that group, go all the way to the beginning, 4 years ago, and see exactly how I built my real estate business. And I don't use any other type of marketing except, of course, branding myself on Facebook, which I rarely talk about real estate. I really don't, because I believe social media is 80-85% personal. Your life, people want to know who you are,
Right.
what you are, right, what you stand for before they meet you, and then if the product or service fits, then they'll do business with you. Yep.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Did that answer your question, Joy?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. I love the whole different way you got into real estate. You know, it's usually the other way around.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's awesome.
So on the send out card size, the business side of send out cards, how is it just like you just shared with the Greek restaurant owner? You kind of, he wants to get in touch, do this, and then get to know him, and then you introduce send out. Is that how you've been growing your business on that side?
You know what? That's a great question. So, it's all about value. I believe that every single day, that everyone has an emotional bank account in them. And every day we're making deposits into that account. We're either making negative deposits or we're making positive deposits. And when we make negative deposits, guess what? They're not taking your call when they see your number pop up.
Yeah.
So my main focus is just building relationships and appreciation, creating value. And the main thing that I saw in this system from day one was how I can be a connector. Because cards create conversations, and conversations lead to what could have been missed opportunities.
Sure. Okay. Perfect.
Wow.
So I use it as an attraction tool and not a repelling tool.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we all have those friends that call or people we know, and we see their number and you go, yeah, that'll go to voicemail. You want to go, cool, Brian's calling me. All right, which I'm sure happens all the time. So.
And you know what, Sean? It takes, and the thing is, and that's why I call that group Building a Referral-Based Real Estate Business, beginning with the end in mind, because that's really what it takes. It's beginning with the end in mind. It's not the microwave oven approach. It's the long-term play. And unless you're willing to begin with that long-term play, things are going to be very, 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 very hard.
Well, and I think you make a great point, because if you have that vision, that whatever that is out there, that, okay, this is what I want it to look like. When you have that off day that most of us do once in a while, it keeps you going, okay, let me get through this day. I still have my end game here. I see what it looks like. I'm going to keep working at it. And that's probably why a lot of people quit the real estate business, the network marketing bit, any type of business, because they don't have that end game in mind. They just, I want to get a paycheck. And that only gets you so far. They don't have that vision or that what they want it to look like. So that's a great point. Great point.
Yeah, and like right now in the market that we're in, the pie has gone smaller because inventory is tighter.
Sure.
And what I'm seeing right now are so many agents who were once independent, they are going on teams, right?
Oh, okay.
And I mean, if you start paying attention, you'll notice what I'm talking about. And they're not going on teams because they need the company, right? They're going on teams because they need the leads, because they don't know how to lead generate. And that's what this system will teach people how to do, is how to be able to create, to nurture relationships, create those relationships that eventually turn into referrals.
Right. Now, Brian, being a realtor, are a lot of your clients and customers realtors?
You know what? So yes. And when you say clients being realtors, what do you mean? My send out card clients?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them are. I mean, a lot of my network that I've created, and notice I said created, is there are a lot of them are realtors because again, I began with the end in mind. I knew from the beginning that I was going to go ahead and create a referral real estate business, beginning with the end in mind, and I spoke it. I spoke it to the public, and now people are seeing that, hey, you know what? He wasn't kidding. No, I wasn't kidding. and they're going on teams, and I'm still taking the path less traveled, and by sending my 3 to 5 cards every single day, by just commenting on Facebook, by just being a good person, and by just building my brand. You know, I highly recommend the book The Purple Cow. Have you read it, Joy?
No, I have not read it, but this is second time recently I've heard that title. So
I'm telling you, you have to get you guys have to get The Purple Cow.
That's
So
great. Yeah, I read it like 15 years ago. So
yeah, so
good book.
so my youngest son, it's funny because you know where we live, we don't live in the country, but whenever we go to football, his football practices, that's like in the country. We go through the country, and we always drive by where there's cows, and the game is the first one who says, "Hey, did you see the purple cow?" You know, and it's funny because we play that game with each other, but it's about being authentic and being different and being remembered in a world where everyone is doing the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Absolutely.
awesome. Well, you know, when I asked you the question about realtors, you know, and many people run into, you know, a lot of realtors don't want to take the time to do or even listen to what's going to work. You know,
well, you know what, Joy?
Completely opposite. So, what do you do with your when you're talking?
Okay, well, here's the thing, and here's where I believe people go wrong. That are sharing send out cards with realtors is realtors. We're being pitched everything under the sun,
Yep.
right? And we always have a monthly outgo in marketing. Well, thank God I don't, because I use send out cards, and send out cards pays me more than I spend. But most of them have more outgo, and so when somebody says to them who's never been in real estate, "Hey, if I can show you a way to take your real estate business to the next level, are you open?" Most realtors are going to be like, "Hey, you know what? I don't want to be bothered with that." But when you start appreciating people, sending them cards, start attracting them. And you know what? And I look at everybody like a clock, like the old school clock. You know, with the hands,
Yep.
the hour hand and the minute hand. You know, and I believe that everyone at one point or another, there'll be at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, right? And eventually they will be at 12 o'clock where their clock is ready. Our job is to gently stay in touch with them to catch them at 12 o'clock.
What a great analogy.
Yep. Perfect. Well, cool. I think that's a great way to end.
Wow.
And you're right. I mean, and that works in any business. You know, I've been sharing. Look, how I think that the cards get in front of people when it's right for them. When you send a card, when they get it, that's the right time for them to get it. I think it's the same with us doing business or any business. It's always on their agenda, not ours. Now you can do that a little bit, but it's typically, you know, when they're ready and, "Hey, Brian, I saw what you've been doing. I love that. Can you show me how to do that?" So that's I think a great way to end. Anything else you'd like to add and share with us?
No, that's it. I got it.
Right.
Gotta let the dog out.
Yeah, I got to let the dog out, and I got to go pick up my son.
Okay. Well,
Awesome.
Brian, we appreciate your time. Thank you very
sure
much.
do.
Shared a lot
Thank
of
you
great
very
stuff,
much,
and
guys.
Yeah.
We'll talk with you
Thanks and continued success. And we're all on this journey together. And
That's right.
you know,
Perfect.
it's perfect. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
guys.
All
Everybody
right.
have a great
Bye-bye.
day.
Thank you.